Paul, it is an honor to be hosting you to the Sport Businessman podcast today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a true pleasure being here, Edoardo.
So, we're sitting down with you today after leading and founding the DODS Federation and the DODS Diving League, where we're going to be exploring the world's fastest growing extreme sports property in the space and sector of emerging sports leagues, which is a big and interesting conversation that's being talked about by newsletters and newspapers today. So, where did your interest in extreme sports, diving, and sports and entertainment in general begin, Paul, for you growing up and leading to your profession today?
Yeah, so great question. I think it's at the end, I think it's all about having fun. So we were the last generation of DODS diver, this Norwegian sport born in Oslo back in the 70s. So when we decided to kind of organize the first world championship in 2008, it was a joke. We did it for fun. This was something we wanted to kind of write in the history books for generations to come. And then the second year after us hosting a highly kind of friendly event, suddenly we had 1,500 people showing up at the local community pool. Next year, 3,000 people. And suddenly we understood that there's something here. There's like some magic into this sport. It's the whole entertainment aspect. It was recruiting young people very early. So it came from having fun. It came from being a part of a community, and then it resonated with the rest of the world. And I think that's maybe the reason why it's flying so viral as it is. Just like you said, one of the fastest growing sports in the world right now. It's because it's so fun. You're becoming a part of something, just like snowboarding blew up in the 90s. This is exactly the same thing. And you're going to feel this when you go to an event. It's a vibe.
And you were recently in Tobago, and how, but if we think about sports fans, um, what is the position of the DODS diving? Because there are sports that are positioned to be luxury sports that only high net worth individuals can access and are usually considered as their hobbies, as well as other sports such as boxing, which are considered sports that don't require a lot of capital to practice, and it's entertainment and it's viewed a lot as well, and it captivates audiences and also able to build elite athletes from nothing, as well as sports which we know as basketball and soccer that in some places are pay to play, and in other sports are every single social class can play. But what is the position of DODS diving?
So you're coining it. It's Dutch diving is for everyone. The only thing you need is a bikini or a swim trunk, and that's it. So if you're a poor kid from South America or you a rich kid growing up in the Hamptons, it doesn't matter. It's for everyone. The only thing you need is a body of water and have fun.
Beautiful. And where does where do you see when creating and crafting the project of DOTS diving, and you were thinking about acquiring the athletes as well as the customers and the viewers? And what were your views and processes to think about who was gonna be the athlete, how was he gonna get influenced to join the sport, and how was the fan? What, in your view, how was the fan going to be attracted and captivated to the screen for the
Yeah,
sport?
so that's maybe, yeah, exactly. So that's maybe one of the kind of most important questions to ask. How do you commercialize a sport like this? How do you professionalize it? Because it started off with a group of friends having fun in the water, but how did darts diving become diving 2.0? Why is every kid in the Nordics doing this? Why is the US exploding? And the simple reason I think is social media. So this is a sport reborn with social media in its DNA. So a lot of the existing sports today, they have to adapt to social media. This was born with social media. It didn't happen if you didn't film it. So every single jump, every time there's a phone to prove whatever you're doing. So every time we have an event during the world tour, we average 15 million views per event organically. And that's just because it's in its nature to film it and to distribute it. And I think that that's probably true about most of the emerging sports today and why they are so well positioned towards the more senior sports out there. I think it's because it's it's kind of reinvented in a media space where it has to deserve its kind of spotlights. So you can't buy that kind of prime time anymore. You actually have to be relevant. And I also think that's the reason why sport is developing. And entertainment is becoming such a huge part of this. And also the community side is because if you want this stuff to go viral, it better be good. And I think that's as long as you have that as a part of the DNA, automatically you have the storytelling. Automatically you have the interesting characters. Automatically you have the pizzazz and the pyro flames and the splash zone during the events. And suddenly this becomes a property that is IP worthy to build. And that's where we are today.
So it's important today because of the attention economy we are living in, and that's why it's attracted to the consumer, the viewer, as well as the athletes, correct? And is
Yeah.
there what is the status of the athlete? Are they professional athletes, amateur athletes? Are they considered entertainers? Um, what is the life cycle of an athlete of DODS?
Yeah, so we had approximately kind of 100% growth year by year on the athlete side. And this is just because new generations are starting to tap in. So we have today 250 professional divers getting included in some or all the competition during the World Tour. This season is the first year we introduced the teams. So we have 8 commercial team where you can buy the naming rights for the team. So we had Team
Okay.
Pepsi, Team Best Western, Team Zero Nation. So you kind of just like the kind of Hollywood pizzazz going into Sail GP and Formula E and all that stuff, you have the same kind of energy owning a team in the DODS Diving League, which makes it a little bit easier for mainstream people to kind of get on board. Uh, and I think that secondly, it also makes it possible for the athletes to start becoming 100% professional and 100% reliant on the revenue they're getting from this. So one of the first thing we did by introducing the team structure is that, okay, something is going to the federation with the licensing agreements, but most of the money is going directly to the athletes. So by us organizing these teams, we're suddenly securing a salary for the divers. We're covering costs for traveling, hotels, food, and all that stuff. And it also opens up the door to build more a team franchise structure. So it is actually an investment as well.
And, when we talk about partners that help to build teams, and what are the where are the opportunities for brands to market themselves when they own a team? Where do they appear on the digital media side, as well as where are all of the doors and opportunities where they can showcase their brand because their team exists in DODS diving for them to be viewed and commercialize and monetize their brands even more.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why this is going so well. I think it's we just got the report from the national broadcaster in Norway giving us their first numbers. So 33% of the demographics was under 30 years old, which means people, Gen Z and millennials, are watching TV again because of this. And I think that at the end, this is it's what it's all about. You're buying the demographic, you're buying the reach, you're buying the relevance of this Gen Z culture. You're being a part of a movement, which is like probably the most difficult demographic to grasp. So by having the naming right of a team, you're getting broadcasted throughout the whole season with your logo, with your ambassador in each and every episode of the league, and then with the support of social media. So you're getting a brand exposure worth so much more than what you invest, which also makes it possible in the future to look into a franchise model, just like NFL, NHL, etc., to start building proper commercial teams. But right now, we're selling it as naming rights, as commercial sponsorships of the teams, which is working very well. So, but within a couple of years, I can see this becoming a team franchise structure.
Wow, what an interesting model. And um, we, after reading the national Norwegian broadcasters' metrics about the youth engagement and the media asset as the most important in the growth of DODS diving and emerging leagues today, as they capture uh, um attention and they are the pure core of entertainment sports. This season, 33% of DOD's diving live TV audience was aged 16 to 29. Can you please explain to us what does that mean for DOD's youth sports viewership and the Norwegian investment ecosystem?
Now, so first of all, the TV demographic is dying out. So it's a horrible situation for all the media companies to just look at people getting older and older watching linear TV. So having a value proposition where you can come in and say, we're making Gen Z and millennial watch live TV again. It doesn't mean that it has to be linear. You can also kind of launch it in parallel with streaming, but it does mean that people are willing to go to zap on the TV to watch the live competition. And I think the main reason for it is the way the whole programming is structured. It is made with Gen Z in focus. Everything we do, it's drone shots, it's pyro. We have like 6, 7 cameras on each jump. We don't film kind of a static person diving out of the platform. We have 6, 7 cameras portraying just the ballet that's happening in the air with the music in the background, with the vibe of the people, the storytelling of the teams. So this is much more entertainment and storytelling than just linear sport, but it's still a competition. So just like in snowboarding and freestyle skiing, you need a winner. So the winning team, the winning individual during the World Championship, it's still what it's all about. But being a part of that ecosystem, being a part of that community, that attracts a more mainstream fan group. And those exclusive to monetize. And that's the reason why TV channels are tapping into this. So I don't know if I mentioned this to you because we just got the news last week. But we are in final discussions with ESPN2 about airing the whole 2026 season. So this shows why this value proposition becomes relevant. It's because we're giving TV a new demographic, a new generation of watchers.
Amazing. And how what does this mean also for institutional investors and capital that can help support emerging leagues when investors want to invest in sports, media, and entertainment? You explained to us what is the value proposition and how are you positioning DODS as a venture skill sports property for the next 10, 20 years. It's definitely a core sports investment, so not an adjacent. But how can investors position themselves for investing in DODS and also adjacent businesses that can help support its growth?
Yes, it's a great question because this is kind of the most difficult thing about working with an emerging sport in the changing media landscape. What playbook do you follow? And right now, there is the playbook being written because everything is so new. The changes are so new. So what we're doing with this sport is we're actually building it on a very traditional model. So we start with the calendar, and the calendar is done with collaboration with host cities, meaning that when we go into a city with an event, we go break even, including the media production. So that's the kind of building brick number one. Building brick number two, to be able to get a host city, you need media distribution. So then you have to build your reach. And this is done with ESPN. Now we're in negotiation with Canal Plus in France. We're with NRK in Norway. That secures the reach. So the host city that wants to kind of show off their event in their city, they have a window. And then you mirror those deals that you preferably do on 3-year cycles with your commercial teams. So then you can sell a team for 3 years at a time. And then you mirror that with sponsorship. So you kind of build it block by block. But what's the X factor here is that once you start having real value into the media broadcast, you can start having licensing revenue, and that's your hockey stick. So once you have a value proposition that's that unique, people are starting to buy rights. So we are already in negotiation with 2 territories about selling our rights, and that is the moneymaker.
Amazing. And so I'd love to learn also, how are the future commercial leaders of DODS diving setting up? How are you preparing the new generation of um, commercial directors in Norway that can help the growth of DODS diving, as well as as well as um, how will it enter other European countries like Italy, France, Spain, the UK, France, um, for it to be viewed also by 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 millennials and Gen Z of other countries, and maybe establish DODS diving in other countries. Do you ever see that come into play in the future?
Yeah, most definitely. But I do think that the biggest change with media right now is that there are no borders. So if this blows up, it also blows up in France or in Germany or in the US. People interested in this space will get this stuff on their feed, and you'll see it once you start flipping those jumps on your Instagram account. It appears every day because there's so much of it. So that's the organic and kind of viral way of how the sport is getting built. But I think one of the most crucial things here, which is an important part of this business case, is that we are the federation, but we are a commercial entity. So we're the governing body of the sport. We're the World Cup. We own the World Championship. We own the trademark for the sport. So we much more similar to UFC in a sense than many other sports. We don't compete with anybody else. So that makes it possible for us to each year learn and adapt. And I think that's one of the most crucial things in sports, especially in this market. You have to listen. You have to talk with your athletes. You have to talk with your media partners. You have to talk with your commercial partners. How do you adapt the product year by year, making sure that this doesn't become an old grumpy man? It has to be dynamic. It has to be changeable. It has to be adaptable. Just like the tour this year, going from Arendal in the south of Norway, like this picturesque, beautiful little ocean town. And then suddenly you're in the swamps in Dallas, or you're suddenly in the Caribbeans in Tobago. And I think that's part of the storytelling. This is us adapting.
And, and can we say it's the culture of the Viking?
Yes. And I did think it was very funny because when we did come to Tobago, they had kind of a thing. They had a calypso hit back in the 60s. And the song was like, if you do it like a Viking, you do it badass. So that was the whole spiel in Tobago. The Vikings are coming. So I think that's part of our DNA, definitely, that it is also some kind of Viking diving.
Beautiful. And can you briefly also introduce as one of the last talking points to wrap up and package the whole DODS Diving League opportunity to our audience. What is the what is the life cycle of the athlete? How do they have to treat themselves? How do they prepare themselves to be able to step on the diving board and be able to perform a dive that is able to generate the media attention and captivates people to their phone?
Yeah, so that's a great question because in some ways our athletes become superstars. Like one of the biggest athletes, Ryan Bean, he has like almost 5 million followers. So they kind of become their own media channel in some ways. But I think the most important part is that when those athletes attend these competitions, they aggregate everything that they see. So for us, it's kind of it propels the whole commercial model of our league, giving us an average 15 million views per event because everybody is posting from the event. But I do think that from a more commercial side, uh, there is a new playbook being offered now. You see this in Sail GP, you see it informally, you see it in soccer. The Hollywood is starting to do their introduction into sports. And I think it's because sport culture and entertainment is becoming one big thing. You're seeking your community, you're seeking the part of the identity that you want to kind of match, and then you become that sport. And I think that's one of the reasons why sport is, I read somewhere that during the next couple of years, we have an 8% increase in sport, and actually live stream is getting big again. It's because with all everything happening on social media now, everybody living on the small screens, we need the brands, we need the athletes, we need the events to be part and connected with somebody and with something. And I think that that's exactly what we're doing with DODS diving is you are part of something. So even you, I could teach you how to DODS dive in a week. We could go to the local community pool.
Let's
I
do
will
it.
promise you
Let's
one
do it.
thing. You will feel like a rock star after 2 minutes. And I think that's the whole vibe because this sport is all about learning to commit to your fears. It doesn't make sense to go head first against the water and close yourself like a shrimp. It doesn't make any sense. So you can rather, instead of being scared when you do it, you can own it. So that commitment, just like you asked, why are people doing this? Is because you learn how to commit. And I think that's one of the most rock and roll things about this sport.
Then I find that, I mean, a new market and commercial opportunities can open up even with the athletes themselves, with the diving equipment, with athletes showing behind the scenes content, how they prepare, what they do when they're not diving from the board for DODS. Um, it's a super interesting opportunity to learn about DODS diving. Paul Rigault, thank you so much for introducing us, DODS diving. We wish you the best in the future World Championships, airing also on ESPN2 in the 2026 season. It was an honor to host you today and learn about the great emerging sports league you're building. And we are today new fans of the sport as well.
Yeah, and I thank you so much for hosting us here today. And I do think that if people do want to get involved in this movement, please ship me an email, paul@dotsdivingleague.com. We're all about building the next sport and the next generation. So stay tuned and have a good weekend.
Amazing.